first tonight, the power restructure to save you money. Under pressure over rising electricity prices, the Premier has flagged reversing the previous Labor government's decision to break up Western Power into separate units. The Premier says it's been a disaster and is considering recombining Verve and Synergy into one organisation. But is he serious, and would it contain power costs? I spoke with Energy Minister Peter Collier earlier. Mr Collier, thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Now, is this a serious idea on the part of the Premier, or is it just a thought bubble?
Look, it's always been there, Andrew, from the time we took office in September of 2008, 3 years ago today, actually. We've countenanced the notion of actually re-merging Verve and Synergy. Verve at that time when we took office was losing money to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. Now that's taxpayers' money, and that was unpalatable to me as Energy Minister and unpalatable to the government. So we did take steps to correct it. We changed the vesting contract, or that contract between Verve and Synergy, and as a direct result of that we have saved Western Australia over $1 billion. But
if this was a serious idea, I would have thought there would have been a behind-the-doors discussion between you and the Premier. Now that clearly didn't happen in this case, did it?
Look, yeah, there have been discussions going on for the last 3 years.
Serious, detailed discussions?
No, not at all. Yeah, quite correct. I mean, it is very high level. It is. There are no reviews. There's no, dare I say it, work being done on the part of the Office of Energy or my office. But the notion of making sure we have an efficient energy system and at the same time ensuring we don't go back to the bad old days of costing the state hundreds of millions of dollars are long gone. And so, yeah, it's still on the drawing board.
So you don't feel blindsided by this, feeling like you're having to make this policy on the run?
Not at all. Not at all. We made the decision not to re-merge Verve and Synergy 2 years ago. We made some changes to the contract between Verve and Synergy. That has seen some significant improvements, but we've still got a long way to go. We still have a situation, this bizarre situation in Western Australia, where we have state-owned assets on occasion sitting there idle while we are paying private generators hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, that, quite frankly, is unpalatable to me as Energy Minister, and I would assume is unpalatable to Western Australians. So we want to make sure we have the most efficient energy sector in Western Australia, and we'll continue to look at it.
Now, the opposition leader Eric Ripper says that this is just a political distraction. It gives you a vehicle running into the next election to keep blaming Labor for high power prices. He's got a point, hasn't he?
Oh, look, the day that I take advice from Eric Ripper in energy is the day I give this game away.
But this will be politically useful, won't it, Minister? You will be able to run to the next election continually reminding people that the breakup of Western Power, holding down power prices for all of those years, is part of the reason that they are feeling this pain now.
Well, it's true. Essentially, we didn't have an increase in electricity prices for the entire time that Labor was in power, and the end result is now we're having to play catch-up. Now, we can pay for electricity one of two ways. The state government can write out cheques on behalf of Western Australian taxpayers to the tune of hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, or we can move to a user pay system. Now, we are continuing to do that, to move to a user pay system. We've had some significant increases in the last 2 years. We've slowed down the process, but we're still having to pay out or bail out our corporations to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars to reflect that cost of electricity.
Now, I think Mr Porter said yesterday that the price rises that are coming through in the next couple of years are estimated to be about 5%. People are right to be cynical about that, aren't they? I mean, that gives you an easy run into the next election and then out of it. But they can expect big hikes after that, can't they?
Look, I can understand a degree of cynicism and raised eyebrows, and here we go again. But as Energy Minister, I go around the state, the length and breadth of Western Australia. I'm very cognisant of the impact that the significant increases have had over the last 2 years. That's why we injected about $80 million in terms of rebates and hardship assistance this year in this year's budget. I'm also looking at the prospect of changing the tariff structure to perhaps have a tiered tariff structure. I'm not convinced that that's the way to go, but we're looking at a number of options. And having said all of that, I'm very aware of the impact that these electricity price increases have had on everyday householders, and yes, we will slow the process down.
But the blunt truth is that power prices are not going backwards, they're going up. It's just a matter of when and by how much, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not just, we're not alone in this process. In all jurisdictions and internationally, the cost of generating electricity continues to skyrocket, with fuel costs, with generation costs, with transportation costs in terms of the network. They'll continue to put pressure or added pressure on electricity price increases. Now, in Western Australia, we've suffered even more so as a direct result of the fact, in the entire time of the Labor government, they did not have one increase in electricity prices. So that has placed an enormous burden on us as a government to say, well, we have to move to a situation where we're paying for our electricity, but at the same time, we still have to pay out hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, that is money that could be spent on schools and hospitals and other areas of service delivery in Western Australia, and we can't do it as a direct result of the fact that we basically basically haven't had increases for a number of years.
So we're still, what, 30% below full cost recovery? Is that what people can expect over the next few years, another 30% rise?
If we move to full cost reflectivity at this stage, or cost recovery, yes, it's around 30%. True cost reflective levels is an issue for government on an annual basis. Now, at the moment, we've made the decision to slow the process down. We are aware of the impact that it's having on Western Australian householders, so we will continue to subsidise or bail out our corporations to ensure that we can assist Western Australian householders.
And so if this is a serious idea, what's the next practical step?
Look, we continue to monitor it and we continue to consider it. There have been no formal
So there isn't a practical step, is that what you're saying?
There have been no formal talks whatsoever on the part of the Premier and myself. We've had a number of discussions. There are no reviews. There's a bit of high-level discussion. There will continue to be so. Now, we'll continue to work with Verve and Synergy. We'll continue to monitor the market. But the essential fact that remains, Andrew, we need to have a safe, reliable electricity system. We want to cushion the impact of any further increases in electricity. And if that does mean that there is a re-merge of Verve and Synergy in the future, well, so be it.
Minister, thanks for your time.
It's my pleasure.